And so whatever we do is going to be effective because we know how to do it, but our attitude is also going to affect in great part how effective our prayers are. For example, when we're doing a healing prayer, we do the Oms, and we can be thinking, I am doing these prayers, I am sending this energy, this light to everybody. And is that prayer going to do something? Yes, it will, because you will be sending energy into that, to whoever you're sending it. But the problem is that you're limiting yourself a whole lot when you're thinking, I am doing this. You're really relying on your human resources that, let's face it, they're not too great. Relatively speaking, in a universal scale, they're minuscule or nothing. So that is one. Or we can also say that I am a channel for this light, and Master is using me as a channel, and it is his power that flows through me.
Vayu, there was no sound in the beginning. If you can start, would be good.
No sound? I start all over again?
Not all over, but yeah, pretty much all over.
Like the prayer also?
Not the prayer, but then maybe from the explanation.
From the explanation, okay. Is there sound now? Are people hearing this? Hi! Let me take a water break then. So what was I saying? Oh yes, I wanted first of all to bring the attention to what is happening in India right now, as many of you are watching this from India, I'm sure, and many of you from another Western country or Eastern country. So you're probably all aware, but I just want to point it out that the disease, COVID, is ravaging the country right now. And that I am in touch with people from India almost every day, and I know for a fact that there's nobody who hasn't been affected. Everybody, or most everybody at least, has lost a relative or a friend or somebody they love, and sometimes more than one. So this is a time in which they could really use our prayers. And I was also saying that only because we know many people, we love India as a country and we know many people from there, does not mean that we need to care for them or for their situation more than for others, because I believe Brazil, it's been out of the news a little now, so I'm not clear. Hopefully they're better, but I know until very recently they were in a very similar situation, so let us send also our love to them and not forget them, because they're as much children of God as the people in India, whether we know them or not. And what else? Oh yes, that this is, for us, this gives us an opportunity to deepen our practice of the healing prayers and really try to do them as well as we can. And that is something I wanted to speak about today. The one aspect of them, which is the attitude with which we do them. Of course, we have the technique, we know how to do them, so there will always be something happening. If you're doing the technique properly, it cannot not work. Something is going to happen, but how you do it is also, the attitude you have is also very important. Somebody can be thinking, I am doing the healing prayers, I'm going to send light and love to that person or that situation or that country. And that is going to have some effect, of course, because you are consciously sending energy to that target, so to speak. But the problem there is that you're limiting yourself greatly, amazingly, by the thought, I am doing this. So, you're using your human resources, your human energy, etc., which in the universal scale is minuscule. It's almost like nothing. So it can be done much better than this. Or you can say that I am a channel for Master's power, for God's light, and I am channeling Master's light into India or into this person, that person. And right now you have opened yourself to a much greater power than your own, so the floodgates for that energy to flow are much, much more open, but there is still that thought of I, because you're saying, I am a channel. I am channeling, and as long as I can tell you this from my experience doing the healing prayers, that as long as you're thinking I, even if you think of yourself as a channel, there's going to be a limiting factor in those prayers. What I have found best, and I'm sure it goes beyond this, but this is where I am right now, is to just forget, don't say it and don't think I. Just pray to Master or to Jesus or to God, Divine Mother, whoever. This body is yours. You do with it what you will. And just sit back mentally as an observer. Just observe the whole thing happening. I like to imagine Master completely in this body, and he is doing the healing prayers. This is his body. I don't exist, basically. I'm just a point that is observing something else happening. And I found that that is, in that way, the energy flows much better and much more strongly, because I have let go to a certain degree of the idea of I, of the sense of I. And that is something really, very important for us in our sadhana, in our spiritual life, but particularly also in the world right now, because there are so many people that are having such a difficult time these days because of COVID, and so many other things are happening, right? That it is only by losing that sense of I that we can really be empathetic with them, and we can really empathize, and we can really help and be there for them. Now, there is a misconception sometimes that a yogi, because we're all trying to be yogis, and there is a misconception that a yogi is somebody who sits, let's say, here in this nice chair, away from everybody. Even my wife is a little away there. And he sees all the suffering around him, and he thinks, Om Swaha, that does not touch me. It's all an illusion, it's all Maya. Those people are fools because they're suffering, and they should be giving it up to God or whatever. They should not be touched by it. And yet I have noticed that the people who tend to have that tendency, unless they're self-realized, that's a different story, but the people who tend to have that tendency are also, when something happens to them personally, it's the biggest drama in the world. The world has ended, and suddenly, there's a duality, because they have actually tried to repress their feeling, to become unfeeling, and that does not work. It is contractive. It's going to explode at some point. For sure, and even we live in this world. It's let's face it. It's really an unpleasant way to live for us, and also for everybody around us. Imagine having somebody like that in your life. It's not nice. But also, most importantly, that was not the way that our masters lived their life in this world, and those people, those masters, are the people we follow as examples. They were deeply, deeply feeling for everybody. They care for everybody. And that is not to say, of course, there has to be that center within yourself that is unaffected. But it is very different from trying to suppress your feelings, because this center is very much within, and it can see the suffering around, and the suffering to yourself, to your own body, to your own emotions, to your own mind, and really realize, this is all a story. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it as I feel heat and cold, but I don't necessarily have to be affected by it deep inside. But the part of us that interacts with the world, that's a very different story, because that part has to be very deeply loving, very deeply empathetic, very deeply caring and wanting to help others. That is what we're trying to do. That is what it means to lose the sense of I, that I and my wife and the people who are there and everybody, I feel what they feel, in a sense, in my own heart, in my own skin. But if you don't have that center that I was talking about, that observes everything without being touched, then you become out of balance, in the sense that you get your emotion, whether from you or somebody else, and you go like a swing back and forth between tears and joy. That's not what I mean. but I do mean that we have to stand unshaken in our center and then behave in the world in an appropriate, loving, caring way, taking the example from our masters who did live that way, and the world is so much better because of that, and our lives are so much better because of that. Other than that, it's also a very beautiful way to live, so we should all try it, and we should all try to follow it, I think.
Let's sit now for a brief meditation. We can close our eyes, maybe roll the shoulders to get out any tension. Have a straight spine. Gaze slightly upward. But let's focus our attention at the heart center. We can even bring physically our hands to the heart if it helps us bring our focus there. Try to feel it vibrating. And imagine Divine Mother's love, Divine Mother filling our hearts with love, divine, pure love, filling the heart more and more, feeling it so much that it cannot but overflow. We can imagine somebody in front of us that we already love very much, and seeing them will naturally help to feel that love in our hearts. And with that love, let us try to imagine somebody in front of us who we may have difficulties with. Somebody that's more different from us, having different opinions, different personality. And we can imagine a thread of light that goes from the center of our heart to the center of their heart. It's not bothered by any outward differences. It's just there, that connection from heart to heart. Let's try to feel Divine Mother using us as a channel to flow from our hearts to theirs. Because the other is no different from us. We're all children of Divine Mother. We're all sparks of that light. And let's expand that love, those vibrations, to the people around us, the same building, maybe out on